We're doing this breaking segment because of something cool that happened today. Today, I started communicating with ducks for the first time in my life. It's kind of cool that once you work your way into one wild animal communication system, you start to work your way into more. And it's a lot like learning languages. When you learn Spanish, makes it not too bad learning French, Portuguese, Italian, and even other languages like Japanese, because that actually, after learning the Romance languages, Japanese makes a lot of sense too. It doesn't work the same, but it's a language system and you learn how a language works and you apply it. Swahili even, I studied a little bit of that in my undergrad and it made sense too. It's all just a language system is a language system. And you learn the rules and you apply the rules and voila, you've got language. We had a hawk just fly through out of nowhere. It came down through the side, through the side yard, out through the woods and out towards this one area that I know where Too Much lives. So I went hauling myself around the block, running going as fast as I can, and I'm going. So I go running around. I find where Too Much lives and I look and he's fine. There's no problem. There's no hawk in the yard. There's no squirrels plastered to the tree in terror. But then I heard a squirrel that was in terror and he was on another street a ways farther. And I'm like, well, squirrel's a squirrel. I'm still going to try to save him. So I go there and I found that squirrel. I had to look around for a while and he was plastered on the side of a tree. He was the only squirrel anywhere around. And there was a hawk and I'm like, I told the squirrel, I said, don't worry, I'm not going to leave you. And, because he was the only squirrel, he had to have been he was so terrified, he was so crying. And then, so the hawk's up there, and I managed to move the hawk from one place to another, but he was still, and he was facing the other way. So I thought maybe this will be fine with the squirrel, but it wasn't. So I had to keep trying to get the hawk out of there. And through all this, there was these really loud bird noises that I could hear when I was still on the other street. And when I heard the squirrel crying, I also heard really loud bird noises, and I thought there were giant birds fighting, like the hawk was fighting with another hawk or something. It was so loud. And I had never heard it before, and I've heard a lot of animal sounds here. Now that I had the hawk farther away from the squirrel, at least, and facing the other direction, it gave me a few minutes to say, to figure out, okay, where is this sound coming from, these birds? And I go and I find, and there's this stream and these two ducks, and they are just, I wish I had my phone with me, but I was charging it at the time. These ducks were going crazy, such loud sounds. And I didn't really put it together as to why they were. I finally got the hawk out of there. And as soon as I got the hawk out of there, the ducks stopped alerting. And I'm like, oh my God. And I turned around and looked at them and I had not moved. So I was still in the same place. So they were not alerting about me. And besides, I had started hearing them when I was way on another street. They were alerting about the hawk. And I had no idea that ducks do that. I didn't know that they would be afraid of a hawk or even that they would be included in the alert system. Because I know the squirrels, the chipmunks, the good birds, they all have alert systems with each other. Not that a duck is a bad bird, but I never included it with the good birds. It was just neither good nor bad. It was just a duck. But it turns out they're part of the good birds. And wow, they were alerting so heavy. And then they stopped as soon as the bird flew. And I was just looking at them and they were just totally fine. And I went and I found the squirrel that had been plastered on the tree. And now he was able to move and he was on another tree. And he was, he was wagging his tail at me that way. Not there's a propeller way that they do their tail when they are terrified or alerting or whatever. But he was wagging it up and down the way they do, like when I give them a nut and they're happy and they give the tail flick and he was doing that. So I think he was thanking me, or he was at least certainly happy that he lived. And I was too. It felt good to let a squirrel know that somebody sees him, hears him, cares about him. You know what I mean? I mean, imagine being just a small animal alone in the world. Nobody cares about you and everybody pretends they don't see you. I can't imagine that. But, it was shocking to find out that the ducks are part of all this. So I don't know if hawks maybe go after duck eggs or actually ducks themselves, but those ducks were very happy that hawk was gone. So it felt good too to like think, what must they have thought? Like have some human, because I was hanging around there like, and cars were going by because it was kind of a busier road, and I'm just like, so I would just have to sit there like, oh, because you don't want to be like screaming like a maniac at a hawk, like when people are driving by, whatever. So yeah, I had to hang there for a while, and I think they understood, what I was doing. And then, because then when I got the hawk to start flying, I did my thing. I just started clapping like crazy and screaming at them, pointing and telling them where to go and everything. And then, which I used to say Minnesota, but I realized I don't have anything against squirrels in Minnesota. So I'm going to start telling them to go to like Antarctica, because I'm thinking there's probably no squirrels there because it's so cold. And then the hawks can go there. So that's what I'm going to start doing. I like to think that the ducks and the squirrel are sleeping better tonight, knowing that somebody in the world cares about them.